Week 5 of college football was super nutty, and we're here to take a look at which 2023 NFL draft prospects helped their stock, hurt their stock. This is the stock report. What's crack-a-lacking? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember, when I do these lists, I only list 10 guys, and I try to talk about other players during the video, whether they're relevant to the game or the position. So if I don't mention a guy in here, let me know in the comment section below. Can't hit on everybody, but hey, I love having that discourse with you. Let's go ahead. Let's start off with Bryce Young. Typically, I like to bring up players maybe some of y'all aren't aware of, or maybe haven't really looked at yet. But it's important to talk about Bryce Young, obviously, because of the injury. That's kind of the biggest thing, because one of the things coming into him, probably the biggest thing against him right now, is his size. He stands, as Alabama lists, 6 foot 194. It's pretty thin. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he was closer to like 5'10. Though, there's going to be concerns when you're at that size, at that weight, that when you get to the NFL, it's going to be a bit more difficult to protect yourself and not get hurt. That's kind of the fear with smaller quarterbacks. He went down this week. I think he was scrambling, and he went down trying to brace himself, and on the throwing arm, he ended up suffering an AC joint injury. And so I decided, I was like, hey, let's first see what Nick Saban has to say about this. So after the game, he was talking about Bryce Young. It was like, Bryce Young has a little AC sprain in his shoulder. And that's kind of relevant because there's 6 different categories of AC joint sprains. I think they range from type 1 to type 6. And with type 1 and type 2 being the most severe. Now, we're going to have to take a look at it. It's day-to-day right now. I think he's okay. He doesn't have a serious injury, so hoping it's not one of those type 1 and type 2, and I'll talk about the reasons why and why it's relevant to his draft stock. We didn't think he could go back in the game because I don't think he had much steam on throwing the ball. He has had these before, which that's something I didn't know and something that's never really been brought up, but apparently it's something he's dealt with before. And in a few days, he starts to respond pretty well. We'll have to see how it goes. Now, if this category of sprain is a type 1 or type 2, typically you're resting that guy 4 to 6 weeks, because with this type of injury, there's a likelihood of re-aggravating it, especially if it's a type 1 or type 2. What are the long-term? That was the first thing that I asked myself. What are the long-term ramifications of this type of injury? And because it doesn't, none of these require surgery, as far as I looked into it, unless they're like really severe. Like we're talking like even severe at type 1, and you're talking about like damage to the collarbone and such. But there may be some long-term symptoms with type 1 and type 2 injuries, such as like clicking or pain, and limitations with certain movements. And when that's on your throwing shoulder, that's kind of scary. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Bryce Young. He was my quarterback 1 to start the year. I don't think there's a better thrower of the football than Bryce Young in this draft. Or the way he commands the offense, he commands the field, he goes through progressions, he attacks and targets the middle of the field. I don't think it's like any of the other quarterbacks in this class, though I think Stroud's making a good case for himself. So this is something to monitor, obviously. And we'll see, does he return against Texas A&M? Of course, until we learn more, we can't really make a judgment on it until we learn more about the injury. And the most information is going to come out around the combine when that stuff gets checked out. But it will be something to monitor. If they end up playing him this week against Texas A&M, that tells me it wasn't a type 1 or type 2 injury. But it is one that can get re-aggravated if it's one of those higher types of injuries to the shoulder joint. And it is one that could have limitations going forward if it's not completely healed. So it's definitely something to watch out for with Bryce Young. And I'm wishing the best, man. He's one of my favorite prospects in this class. Now, let's go on and talk about Mayan Williams at Ohio State. He is the backup for Henderson. I don't know. I want to know first. Now, Henderson missed the game with a left foot injury. I believe. Was it a left foot? Hold on. Henderson. I put in Williams. I'm looking at the wrong player here. Should be fine after injury in the first. Okay, so he got banged up in the first quarter. Williams took the rest of the load there and had an easy breezy game. It was Rutgers. It was no one. It wasn't a serious contender here in the Big Ten. He went off for 21 carries, 189 yards, 5 TDs, and I talked about earlier this year about Bijan's backup in Rayshawn Johnson. Let's talk about Williams, because he's a guy that gets overlooked, because he is pretty freaking good. If you didn't know, now you know. This is a guy that I think could be an early day 3 pick. He was a former 3-star recruit from the 2020 class, and he's just been playing sparingly as a backup because he's stuck behind Travion Henderson. And Henderson's that's the guy we're going to be talking about as a potential first rounder in the running back class in 2024. But this dude, I love the center of gravity. He 5'9", 225. He's built like a bowling ball. Like, that low center of gravity is just so hard to bring down. Last season, he had 44 missed tackles on only 81 carries. Kind of legit. He's a very patient runner. He can get real nimble between the tackles. He plays with great leverage, stays low, nice low pad level, pretty easy at that size, never stops churning the feet. One of my favorite things about running backs is when they keep the feet moving even through contact. Like, he is can be a legit pile mover. He's got a nasty stiff arm. The feet can be quick when he needs them to be. But when we look at a few of the things that probably keeps him out of that maybe day 2 conversation, because this is kind of a stacked running back class, he's not the most explosive runner. The home run speed, at least for the NFL, is not going to be entirely great. Though we've seen slower guys kind of get away with that, like a James Robinson. And when it comes to what he does as a receiver, little to none. He runs your basic running back route tree, and even then he's typically not doing that. So you get a nice bruiser here on, I would say, early day 3, maybe mid day 3. That if you I like this cat better than Chris Rodriguez. He's a bruiser in this class who had actually his first game back, I believe, was this. No, he came back the previous week, I think. But another guy that's a bit of a bruiser that's been used more in the passing game this season, but he was coming off the DUI this past off season, so there's a bit of a character concerns. Anyway, I think Williams has better contact balance regardless. There's going to be other guys in here like Tavion Thomas out of Utah, who's a bit of a bruiser. You got Kendall Milton, who's got a nice size to him. He's going to be a bit of a bruiser, but doesn't have the low center of gravity at 6'1", like Williams does. The other bruisers in here are going to be like Zach Charbonnet, who I think probably edges out Williams. Dwayne McBride out of UAB probably edges out Williams. On a side note, as we're talking about this running back class, it was nice to see Sean Tucker have a breakout game. I know it was against Wagner, but the offensive line hasn't really been doing him a lot of favors, and he just hasn't been as explosive or been able to get out in space and just go. He just hasn't been afforded that this season. With the injury to Bryce Young, they leaned a lot more on Gibbs, and they need to feed this guy more carries, because he's averaging a missed tackle every 3 carries. He's well over 6 or 7 yards per carry. Give this guy the ball more. I know against Texas, when the offensive line was just hot stinking doo-doo, that they didn't really crave for him. But outside of that, the offensive line's been pretty decent as run blockers. I would love to see him get the ball more as a runner. We already know what he can do with the ball in his hands as a receiver. easily probably one of the better receiving backs in this class. Blake Corum continues to elevate his stock as you see other guys like Zach Evans losing carries out to Judkins. The freshman over there at Ole Miss isn't very, that's not very good. I could see Evans maybe coming back. So Deuce Vaughn also had a big game, side note. Very, very good. Just a very, very good running back class. Mo Ibrahim also missed the game. That's probably another guy to talk about in this running back class. Ended up missing a game. More of a late day 3 pick, but a guy you would just love on in any running back rotation. Did miss the Purdue game this weekend. And then guarantee most of y'all probably don't know about this guy. I didn't start watching him until recently because people started talking about you should watch some Kent State. So I was like, this guy put up yards. Dante Cephus put up 13 receptions for 246 yards and a tutty. So yeah, let me watch this guy. If I'm gonna start anywhere, I want to watch him. And it was an enjoyable watch because this cat last year had 11 forced missed tackles on 82 receptions, I believe. This year, he's already at 12 forced missed tackles. Like this guy's real subtle after catch. Let's just talk about him as a whole in general. Let me bring up his profile here up on my nice Google spreadsheet. By the way, if you join the Patreon, you can see my whole Google spreadsheet of prospects, evals. I updated throughout the year. So if you're interested, take a look. It's in the description below. And you could watch me as I do scouting reports and adjust my rankings in real time. But Cephus was a 3-star recruit out of the 2019 class. He redshirted his freshman season, but I think he played like 3 games. He had a stinking punt block recovery, and they had the shortened season in 2020, but he played in all 4 games there. But he didn't become the true starter until 2021, where he started in 13 of 14 games, played in the 14th one, ended up being first team all MAC. And this cat, very long-limbed, little thin, but dude's got great length. I think he's got good hops. He creates separation consistently on his routes. Like, he's got blazing speed. Like, again, long-lived. This guy's strides are ridiculous. Like, they're effortless. It's hard for corners to match up with him down the field. Like, in 2021, he had a really good game against Maryland. He actually did Georgia did a decent job of shutting him down. Then again, Georgia's just a really good squad in general. I think it was Oklahoma. I think he played pretty well this year. Regardless, this cat, he can make catches in traffic. He absorbs contact well. Like, he could take a big hit. He shows suddenness after the catch with the ball in his hands. He has experience on the outside and in the slot. Like, he runs a very good vertical, his vertical route tree is pretty simplistic. Like, there at Kent State, they're asking him to run slants, screens, goes. But, like, when he tears it up the seams or on the sideline, like, dude's getting legit separation. It's ridiculous. I think he could do a lot as a returner. He just hasn't been a returner since his high school days. But he has played on special teams for Kent State. Like, during his collegiate career, he has 2 punt blocks, and he has a recovery off a punt block that he wasn't the one doing the punt, like the blocking on that punt. So, like, a guy that you see can be active in special teams, I think that's really going to help him get drafted. In terms of probably some of the hiccups is level of competition, though he's faced his fair share of good competition just this year. Oklahoma, Georgia. Gojo's chilling in the back of the video. He must like Cephus. He runs a pretty simplistic route tree. Even his the vertical routes I talked about, there's not a lot of complexity to them. There's not really like double like 2 or 3 moves. It's really, you're just go straight, go. And I'm hesitant about this dude's ball skills. He's kind of a body catcher. That was kind of one of my gripes with Romeo Dubs last year, or Romeo Dubes, or God, how do you say his name in general? Dubs just sounds cooler. But if he's a bit of a body catcher, he doesn't make catches away from his body despite the length. Like he could do a better job of high pointing the football. And the drop rate, his career drop rate, 8.6%. Remember, anything close to 10%, you get worried. So ball skills might be something he needs to work on. But this dude's been so explosive, such a vertical target. Definitely someone to watch for if you're looking for some of these late day 3 guys. I think he could be a guy that's in the run in here. It was a fun watch. It was an easy watch too. Like just constantly separation downfield. It was redonkulous. And then I got a bit of a downer on this list, and Cedric VanPeters didn't have a great game against Mizzou. Georgia in general didn't have a great game against Missouri. They almost lost. But VanPeters allowed 4 pressures, had a penalty, and this was all on 48 pass blocking snaps. And it just seems VanPeters has yet to take that next step. Like, he was a full-time starter last year, and you know this cat has the ability. Like, he has really good length. He's a very good athlete, shows really good foot speed. He climbs to the second level relatively easy, sets a good anchor, stupid strong, plays with that nasty mentality. But something that's been constantly a problem for him, he plays out in front of himself. He basically playing with his head over his knees. He plays off balance essentially. This guy's in the run game on the ground a ton. He's a bit more of a lunger, whether it's when he gets to the second level, he gets real lungy, or if it's on pull blocks, he gets a bit lungy. He could do a better job of keeping his feet moving once he initiates contact. And it's just some of the things that he needed to get better in that from 2021. I don't think he's done yet this year. He looks like the same prospect as last year. So I don't think he's really done. He hasn't done harm to his draft stock. It's not to that elite tier where I thought he could take the next step. So he's still probably like in this day 2 area, but something to monitor going forward. Again, the Mizzou game was a bit of a hiccup on his part. But let's talk about Javon Foster. Same game. Javon Foster had a banger of a game against a scary Georgia defense. He allowed a pressure, and on that pressure, it turned out to be a sack as well. Did have a penalty, but this was on like 38 passing snaps, 57 snaps in total. The penalty I actually think came on in the run game. But this dude is nimble. For a guy that's 6'5", 320. Like, we're talking about in this tackle class, like, for a lot of people, it's Broderick Jones, it's Skoronski, Paris Johnson. A lot of people like Anton Harris. He's in that, like, late second round, or not late, but, like, early to mid second round talk. Olu Fashanyu is blowing up as a prospect. A lot of people like Jalen Duncan. But I think, like, Foster, I think you could talk about him in that Duncan area at this point. Like, he has been pretty impressive. I think he's probably a top 100 prospect for me, which I'll be doing my prospect rankings in the next couple of weeks. Be on the look for that. So fresh prospect rankings, those are always fun. But this dude had he's got good technique. Like, he's been one of the best run blockers in the SEC for the last 2 years. Plays with a high motor, grinds out every rep. Like, the biggest concern for me going into this season was, why did it take you so long to see the field at Missouri? Because I think he's a 5th-year senior, and he needed to get better as a pass blocker, which he has. He's been good this season. So, like, we see this we look at day 2 and it's like, I was hoping for guys like maybe Zion Nelson, Trevor Reed to kind of emerge as like that tier in here. And it's been Javon Foster. Foster's been excellent this season. You had yourself a game, man. You had yourself a game. All right, let's keep this train moving with, I talked about Ivan Pace last week, and I'm doing it again. This dude's stock is hot fire. Fuego, fire. He is flying. He should be flying up like draft boards, because like he is probably the best blitzing linebacker in this class. Just rattled against, I know it was against Tulsa, but 10 pressures, 3 sacks. He had 8 pressures, I think, last week. Like, this dude's racking up a lot of pressures, and like he only pass rushed 25 times in this game, though. To be fair, that is a lot for a linebacker. But it was like after the fall, like the prior week, he kind of like he went off. So yeah, let's get him after the quarterback. And even better, this dude's been solid in coverage. Like, the hiccups with him is, yes, the length is a bit lackluster. This week, he got to the backfield a lot and wasn't able to finish on some of those tackles. So I think he missed like 2 tackles this week. But we know he's been a sure tackler throughout his whole career. As let me pull up his bio real quick. As his career missed tackle rate, or at least it was 10.6 last season, and it's hovering around that right now, which is fine. That's good. That's good if you're a linebacker. Seriously, you get to that 18-20, that's when I get a little scared, a little anxious. He's a solid tackler. Like, this dude reads and reacts like far better than a lot of the prospects in this class. And this is a linebacker class that's not that girthy. Like, you look at it and like there's questions about the talent there. Like, Henry Toa struggled in coverage this past week. To be fair, Arkansas was like, they were playing from behind and he had to deal with a quarterback that ran a lot, so it's a bit tougher on those type of linebackers. But you look at like Noah Sewell, who's kind of had the same problems as he did last year, as in missed tackles, lack of a feel in coverage. Drew Sanders is a missed tackling machine, but he's the guy that hadn't played linebacker since he was in high school. But that dude's very impressive off the edge. Honestly, might end up being an edge prospect rather than a linebacker prospect. Like, Pace has been the guy this year. Like, this dude's firmly in the day 2 conversation. I'm hyped. I had to talk about him for one more week, because like, this dude plays with such a great motor. He's a powerful hitter. He's just someone that's emergent in this linebacker class where there's a ton of questions. So I'm hyped. Hopefully you are too. Let's keep talking about the defense here and talk about my boy, one of my guys, Myles Garrett, who has come alive after Wake Forest last week, where he had 4 pressures and a sack. He rinses and repeats, and he has 4 pressures and a sack and a half against NC State. He's looking the part. We know this dude is a physical specimen. Just looking at him, 6'5", 275. A guy has the length. He's so strong. He bends blockers to his will. You are at the whim of Myles Murphy. The production's coming alive. I'm loving it, and the guys are being able to produce around him, because now they're like we gotta take care of this dude. Like, KJ Henry's having a season right now, and he's probably a guy that's more of a day 3, but he's having a heck of a year. Brian Brazie's there too, so it's like, yeah, it's a scary line, but Myles Murphy, I'm just so happy the production's starting to come. It's not only coming along, but it's against the top of the ACC. He did this against Wake Forest last week. He did it against NC State this week. Keep the production up in an edge class where it's like, you got Will Anderson, and then Myles Murphy's supposed to be that next guy. He is that next guy. Now you're looking, who's the edge 3 in this class? Like, it starts, the waters get a bit muddied. Honestly, I need to shout out BJ Ojulari. Like, dude, just like his brother Aziz, this dude's good. I think he's going to be a top 20 prospect for me. He's going to be around that 20 spot for me. He has been excellent every game he's played this year. He had to miss a couple. Not sure why. I'll look into that. It's kind of half what I do, but every game he's played, he's been just a menace. BJ Ojulari, I think, is the guy that's kind of emerged as like edge 3 in this class thus far. But yeah, no, like, Myles Murphy, man, keep on, my man. Let's talk about the secondary, because Clark Phillips, holy freaking moly. Utah took on Oregon State, that's a tough Oregon State team. They're very feisty. They were able to hang in the game against USC. Not so much in this Utah game. And big reason was Clark Phillips had 3 interceptions. That's right, 3 picks in one game. Fun fact, one of them was returned for, I think, 33 or 38 yards. Returned it for a tutty. He had a tutty, he had a pick 6 in this game. And he was targeted 12 times, only allowed 6 receptions for 55 yards. 5 tackles, didn't miss a tackle because you look at his size, 5'10", 183, and you kind of worry that, oh man, you know, maybe he might not be a great finisher. Nah, this dude hasn't had a missed tackle problem this year whatsoever. These guys playing on the outside, look at his size, and yeah, you know what, he's a little bit more meatier, but like, you look at the size and it's like, you get worried that he can't play out on the boundary. I think as long as you're having this guy playing off coverage, you're A-okay. This dude's instincts are great. He had a hell of a game. This dude's firmly, I would say, a second rounder, or you could even talk about him late first in this regard. He was a guy I was pretty high on going into the season, but had himself a game. And I'm not done with the corner position yet. I'm going to be talking about it one more time on this list. But also, tight end Dalton Kincaid, as Brant Kuithe went down, Kincaid had himself a touchdown. So it's nice to see him getting more involved in the offense. As we knew Kuithe was kind of the guy there, though Kincaid's definitely the better prospect. And then I want to talk about it down on my list. Daryl Tommy out of Maryland. A guy that I had a hard time. Alex was trying to sell me on him. I know a lot of other guys were pretty high on PFF. I wasn't sure if it was Trevor Sikkema or Connor Rogers. One of them were pretty high on Tommy. But I just couldn't get around to it because I was like, this guy, they don't like first off, like injuries. Injuries were a concern when it came to Tommy. Where do I have Tommy on this list? Here we go. So when it came to Tommy, he was a recruit from 2018. He played in 10 games his freshman season as a rotation player. He missed the 2019 season with an ACL injury, so he redshirted. He appeared in 3 games during the shortened Big Ten season. And then last season in 2021, he played in the first 6 games before having a season-ending upper body injury. So it's like a couple of injuries, kind of probably stunted what they want to do with him. But you know what? Still, like, this guy's get-off's pretty good. It's ridiculous. He's got a great frame at 6'4", 260. He shows a good ability to stack and shed. He shows good hustle on passing downs. The thing was, he was hardly ever used as a run defender, and I could see why. He's terrible against the run. I think he's got a 40% missed tackle rate this season. Just this past week, he couldn't get a pressure, save his life. He had a missed tackle. He dropped back in coverage like 3 times, allowed a reception. I don't really care. You're an edge rusher. I don't care about that stat too much, but it's this, man. He just hasn't produced as a pass rusher this year. 8 pressures on 122 pass rushing snaps. His win rate is less than 10%. He hasn't had more than 3 pressures in a game, and that was against SMU. He did nothing against Michigan. He struggled against Charlotte, to be fair. He wasn't out on the field for a lot in that game. But created no pressure against Michigan State. Nothing. Not even late pressure. I need to correct myself. A 30% missed tackle rate, not 40. But this dude's only been on the field 76 times to stop the run. The sample size is small. In a edge class where it's like, hey, after like Miles Murphy and Will Anderson, I know I just talked about BJ Ojulari, but that edge 3 spot, it's wide open. He's not stepping up. This dude's a 5th-year player. He's just not stepping up, man. I think he's like firmly this day 3 guy who's probably going to be a DPR, designated pass rush only. So that's not like the dude's got some traits. It's just right now at this point it's traits. There's just not enough production, at least this season, to really warrant anything higher than a day 3 pick. So just wanted to touch up on Tommy here. Finally, I'm going to talk about Emmanuel Forbes, who, fun fact, had 2 picks this week against Texas A&M, and one of them was a pick 6. Don't remember it was 38 yards or 33. I got him and Clark confused, regardless, it was a 30-plus yard pick six. And if you didn't know, now you know. Last year, Forbes had 3 interceptions. All of them were pick sixes. This guy's a playmaker once he gets the football in his hands, and you love to see it. Like, you have cornerbacks kind of falling out of the first round currently in this class, like Eli Ricks. Just can't see the field. Only played 3 snaps this past week. Like, there ain't no way he's coming out of this draft. There ain't no way. No way. Grant Williams, he's had some up and down games. So it's like, there's a reason to believe, hey, like, Forbes could be this second rounder. Easy day 2 pick. Might even get into that top 50 conversation. Like, I'm a sucker for both him and DJ Turner right now. But with Forbes, let's talk a little bit specifically about Forbes, because I don't think I've really done that on the channel. Let's go into his background. He's a former 4-star recruit out of the 2020 class. Also played basketball in high school. As a freshman, played in 11 games with 9 starts. He made the All-SEC freshman team. And then in 2021, he broke Mississippi State's single-season record for interception returns. And he tied the career record there in 1 season. If you didn't know, now he broke it. Dude has great length, man. Great length. And he plays the ball so well in the air. Coming into the season, he had 8 career interceptions, 10 career pass breakups. How many does he have officially this year? Let me get Forbes up here. Can I not spell? I don't see him. Oh, here he is, Emmanuel Forbes. On the season thus far, he has 3 picks, 2 pass breakups. So 11 picks for his career, 12 pass breakups, kind of legit. Penalties have never been a problem for him throughout his career, despite that length, because he does like to play, like, he plays a lot of off coverage sometimes, though occasionally he'll play press. But he does a good job at when receivers shorten the space on that cushion. He does a good job of getting his hands on them and being very discreet with his hand usage. Let's see, where's he at? And to be fair, like, there's a lot of corners are starting to emerge in this class. I could talk about Devin Witherspoon. I've talked about him, I think it was a couple of weeks ago on the channel. I've talked about at length about Joey Porter, Christian Gonzalez. They've been doing good jobs. But this dude, he's tailor-made for a zone cover, like a zone-heavy scheme, because of how they're playing for, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the DC's name. I can't remember the DC's name off the top of my head, but it's a very complex, very zone-heavy scheme where he's played a lot of different types of zone coverage. So this guy's coming in with a very good NFL know-how of zone concepts. Here, I'm gonna Mississippi State football DC. Zach Arnett. There we go. Thank you, Google. But yeah, no, this corner class is looking pretty interesting, and honestly, when it comes to day 2, second round, there's gonna be a lot of good prospects if they fall. Because Cam Smith still regarded as a very highly regarded prospect, whether it's top 20, top 25. Garrett Williams still pretty good, even though he's had the ups and downs. Dude's still a very good prospect. DJ Turner's really good. Just talked about Clark Phillips. Tyreek Stevenson's had some ups and downs this year, mainly come on special teams, but he's been pretty darn good this year. Jalen Jones has been good this season, though I haven't looked at the Missouri game for the Texas A&M defense. So hopefully he did well. I guess I could do a quick look at PFF grades, how Jalen Jones did. Oh, here, let me put in the full name. I'm sure there's a lot of Jalen Jones in college football, and there is. Oh, shucks, I put in the wrong one. I saw Mississippi, and it was Ole Miss. Here we go. Yeah, it looks like he played Mississippi State well. He was only targeted once, but he was only on the field for 10 snaps. So maybe he got hurt in that game. I don't know. Again, I haven't played back the defensive side of the ball for A&M on that game, so I guess we will see. But Emmanuel Forbes, man, the missed tackles have been a bit more prevalent this season. Don't like to see that, but honestly, like, and it sucks because he needs to clean up as a tackler because he actually plays the run pretty darn well. Last year it was like 18% missed tackle rate. This year, like, and again, if it was 18%, I'm not concerned about that when it comes to my corner. Tell me how you can cover. I think it's up to 30% currently, so there I'm a bit more about, you know. But honestly, this cornerback class is starting to shape out to be pretty darn good. But yeah, I guess as the cool kids say, that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. Let me know who are some of your hot risers through the week. Again, I can't name everybody off this. Like, I can't list everyone on this list. There's only so much college football I could get to. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. As always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.